Welcome back to the Preppy Podcast. Thank you all so much for being here. Today I am chatting with an entrepreneur who wears many hats as she has many businesses. I'm chatting with Hilary. She is the owner of the Cookie Countess, as well as Crown and Coastal and the Royal Mahjong Society. You guys know that I love a triple threat entrepreneur, and I was so excited to talk with Hilary about how she came into the cookie business, and then from the cookie business it led into Mahjong and a handbag and tote line as well. She has so many great tips to share for entrepreneurs. I just really enjoyed this conversation, and I love her brands. They're very preppy and colorful and classic, so I know you guys will as well. Before we get into this week's episode, though, I want to remind you guys that last week we officially launched Club Preppy, which that is a monthly membership. We do at least one virtual event per month, as well as you get little gifts in the mail, special discounts from the brands and designers we have on the podcast, and a community of amazing men and women. So you can go to thepreppypodcast.com to buy a membership for Club Preppy. That kind of came about just because we've had so much requests for more camp preppies, more events in between, and the ladies have just loved the community that we've created with that. So Club Preppy came to be. We launched last week, and we already have a lot of men and women signed up and so many fun activities. So for March, for example, we are doing a Texas wine country wine tasting with Jerry Lynn, who I had on this podcast before. We are also doing a personal branding, I will say, workshop with Hattie Hill Designs. And then other things on the horizon include tablescapes, floral arranging, cocktail classes, and so much more. But let's get into this week's episode. All right. So why don't you first let everyone know who you are, where you live, and what you do?
My name is Hilary Ramos. And first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited to do this today. I live in Rhode Island. So as you know, in the Northeast, there's still snow on the ground right now while we're recording. Hopefully by the time you post this, it'll have melted.
Yep.
And I actually have 3 companies that I run with the help of my husband. But the first one is called the Cookie Countess. We sell specialty baking supplies, and that has been in business for 13 and a half years now. And then I recently started 2 new brands. One is called Crown and Coastal, which is focuses around tote bags, canvas bag style, and some other accessories. And then we literally just launched last week. We're not even a full week into the Royal Mahjong Society, which we're creating Mahjong sets and mats and accessories to go with Mahjong. So it's been a really big year of change this year, and but it's all exciting.
That is so amazing. So it's so fun because when I first discovered your brand on Instagram, it was through the tote bags. And I was like, I have to have you on the podcast. I love these bags. They're so preppy. I reached out and you're like, oh, I actually have 2 other brands. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I am thrilled to chat with you because, as everyone knows that listens, like, I love a serial entrepreneur, someone who's wearing lots of hats. That's like myself as well. So I'm thrilled to get to talk with you today. But before we get into the businesses, then tell me a little bit about your childhood. Were you always someone that was entrepreneurial? I'm assuming yes, being that you have 3 businesses, or were you like creative? Like, what was your childhood like?
I definitely grew up pretty creative, and I'm an only child, was really close with my parents, still am. My parents are super creative. They're entrepreneurs. But yeah, I was always like doing crafts and trying to sew things and making jewelry. And I don't know exactly maybe what my first business was I started. But I definitely was the first one I kind of remember starting was doing photography when I was, I think, in high school or college. I remember I had business cards made, and so I was really into photography in high school. And I wanted to do like black and white children's portraits, like really candid style.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I'm pretty sure I probably had a jewelry business. Like this is a long time ago. So, but yeah, it was always kind of in my soul to just like do what I don't know, do what I wanted to do. I
Yep.
didn't start my own first official business until my late 20s. Um, but I definitely like very
Dabbled.
creative as a kid. My
Yep.
mom was always like doing arts and crafts with me and that kind of stuff. So I grew up in a very like artsy, creative household.
I love that. And I'm always thrilled to hear from another only child. I'm an only child. So it's interesting. There's a couple entrepreneurs that I know that are only children as well. And I feel like it's something in us just being on our own or entertaining ourselves as kids that we make great entrepreneurs and like can do things on our own and aren't scared of, being a solo entrepreneur to start and kick something off, right?
I think you're so right because you really do have to learn how to entertain yourself, but also like be okay with yourself and
Yes.
like, you know what I mean? Like kind of create your own world that doesn't rely or isn't maybe prohibited, that's kind of the boring word, but by having siblings where, you know, your family's time is maybe divided and
Yep.
you like, you know, I had all my parents' attention. Like, I know
Yep.
this, you know, and if people are like, oh, you're only a child, you're spoiled. Well, maybe I was with attention. I wasn't,
Mhm.
you know, with, um, you know,
Physical like monetary
physical
things. Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think you get comfortable to just doing things on your own.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Just going out there and doing it. So tell me then, when it came time for college, where and what did you end up studying? Was it something creative? Was it entrepreneurial? Was it business or something completely out of left field?
So I went to Skidmore College, which
Okay.
is in upstate New York, Saratoga Springs, and it's a small liberal arts school. I ended up majoring in English, and which was not my intention in the first place. I do like to write, so that was always something I enjoyed reading and writing.
Mhm.
I had thought that I would be a photography major, and I when I first got there, I was trying to like get past the pre
Requisites?
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
To getting into like photography one, like you
Mhm.
were supposed to take you know, just art 101 or whatever. So
Yeah.
I remember I made a meeting with the professor to show him my portfolio from high school because I did a lot in high school and I was like always living in the dark room. I mean, this was back when there were dark rooms still and like developing our own film and I was like the photography assistant at my school. And I showed him my portfolio to be like, you know, do you think I still need to take these other classes? And he was honestly like really mean to me. And I still think about it once in a while, like when someone asks this kind of question.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know, he kind of just gave me a lot of pushback on why I wasn't great or like
Mhm.
whatever. And I was so young and so stunned by it
Yeah.
that somebody would like be like that to me. And he's like, well, aren't you going to defend yourself now? And I think he was looking for me to just, you know, be this strong, like, yeah, get out of here. Like, you know, and I was like, no, I'd like to leave now.
Yeah, it caught you off guard.
And I was, you know, if someone did that to me now, I'd be like, "Psh, all right, whatever. Like I would
Yeah.
blow it off so quickly. But when you're young, you're 18 and like you're at college for the first time, I was like, okay, I guess I won't be taking any photography classes. And like that was it. So,
Oh.
which it is what it is, you know, but so I ended up I still took some art classes for
Mhm.
sure, but I ended up being an English major and I didn't have any like interest in being a business major at
Okay.
all. I picked English because I just figured, well, I'll just get to read and write. Uh,
Mhm. None of the numbers.
yeah, but if that, you know, but that being your major, like my major, and then not wanting to be a teacher or a journalist or like when I left school for career wise, it kind of left me a little like, well, what do I do now? I
Yeah.
feel like I had a great education and I did a lot while I was at school. I played lacrosse all 4 years.
Yeah.
I was like on all these student councils and planning like events all the time. So I feel like I had a really great education from
Mhm.
just a well-rounded standpoint. But my major didn't really leave me with a like career path.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense now. I feel like when you're those ages, you're so vulnerable. I remember even I had a teacher, I took fashion and communications PR, and in the fashion classes we had to sew. And she was a nun actually that taught, because I went to a Catholic private university. And she was like, you need to not be in fashion. Like, you cannot sew. And I feel like I did, like, that's something I still remember. So those little things, like, they stick with you, and I think they affect you more than you think. But all in all, I'm grateful for where I ended up, and I'm sure you are too. But looking back, you're like, oh, maybe should have been kinder, like had a better way with words, right?
Yeah, I feel like today that would just fire me up to
Yeah,
like do more and do better. But back then, I didn't have the experience and confidence to be like that.
1,000%. So then tell me about sort of once you graduate, your next career path or the start of your career path into launching your first business, because you said you started your first business when you were in your late 20s, right?
Mhm. So after college, I started working at Banana Republic as like a
Okay.
sales girl. So I think I started as holiday help.
Mhm.
And I just kind of stuck there for a while and was working for them. I coached lacrosse part-time at my old high school. I but I was definitely like kind of going down the retail path.
Mhm.
And I moved around a little bit in my early 20s. I ended up eventually landing in Newport, Rhode Island,
Okay.
which is a great, coastal town.
Yeah.
And I was working at the Banana Republic there. And then I was like, over a couple of years, moved my way up in through the management, in-store management. So I worked my way up to being a store manager. And it was a good experience for sure.
Mhm.
It wasn't like my passion in working for like corporate like that. And it's a very structured, kind of corporate. And especially when you're on the retail side,
Yeah.
you're a slave to the hours and like, dealing with people constantly.
Mhm.
And it was a good experience. It wasn't my passion. I had a friend at the time who was also in retail, and we decided to open our own boutique.
Oh, cool.
So that was my first real foray into being, like a full-on entrepreneur as an adult.
Yeah.
So we opened a women's clothing store. This was in maybe 2001. I
Okay.
think 2001. So I think we had decided in 2000, we both quit our jobs. Like I took 3 different bartending jobs. She took a bunch of restaurant jobs so we could like, try to earn some fast cash
Yep.
and also just have a little more freedom and time to start planning our store. And so we had a place in Providence. There's a street called Thayer Street, which is right in the middle of the east side of Providence, which is where Brown University is and Rhode Island School of Design. So it's a big like college town. And this one street is known for its shopping and restaurants. And so we opened a store there. It was called
Cool.
La Femme Boutique. And this was back when like designer denim was like just getting going, where all of a
Okay.
sudden everybody was like, oh, I need a pair of 7 jeans, So
Yep.
this was before that, like, and back then you would think they're cheap now, but they were like $115 retail, and that was like, whoa, we're paying $100 for jeans now.
Yep.
So now that would be like, oh, I got such a deal on them, but like that was really expensive, 25 years ago, whatever it was. So but we had we had a go of it. Like it was really a learning experience, like going to all the shows in New York to buy product. And this was like very much before internet shopping,
Yep.
any of that stuff. This was pre-social media,
Wow.
so we were relying on word of mouth,
Mhm.
just being on a busy street. We were
Yeah.
relying on print ads and local magazines, to get customers in. We ended up ending our partnership a couple years in, and she went off to pursue a different career, and I
Uh-huh.
kept it. And I kept the business for about 3 more years after
Oh,
that.
okay.
And I moved to a second location. I met my husband during this process, and I was kind of just getting a little bit burnt out on it.
Mm.
And it was making enough money, but it wasn't making enough money that I was like, this is worth, and this is worth it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't exactly what I want it to be.
Retail's hard. I mean, the hours are hard, and owning a store, like people canceling and not coming in for their shifts. And I'm sure then you have to fill in. Like, yeah, retail is a hard business. So I can totally see that.
Yeah, and having weekend hours, and like you said, like relying on other people. And I had
Mhm.
some great girls that worked for me. Most of them were students from Brown University. And I like was thinking about this the other day. I have very specific memories of them telling me about the Facebook. And right, back when it was just Ivy League, and I was
Yeah.
like, "What are you guys talking about?" They're like, "No, it's so cool. It's this website where you just see the pictures of everybody." I was like, "Well, pull it up. Let me see it." So it was
That's
like
so
so
funny.
wild to me. I'm like, "This is crazy." And you guys like just talk about each other and rate each other, and like,
And now it consumes all of our lives, basically.
oh
Fast
my gosh,
forward.
I know. Had I known back then.
So then tell me, once you decide to close the business, you get married, start a family, then when does the entrepreneur bug bite you again? And it sounds like it started with next the cookie business. Is that correct?
Yes. So I had done a brief stint in real estate
Okay.
after I closed the store, and my husband's mother owned a real estate company, so I thought I'd give it a try. It was not for me. And when I got pregnant, I was like, okay, I'm a stay-at-home mom now. Like, I'm not going back to doing real estate. I do not like it at all. It's not for people that are great at it. I give them so much credit because it is a hard thing to do. It was not for me. So I committed to being a full time mom. And then when my son turned 2, he was really into Thomas the Train, and I wanted to throw him a Thomas the Train party. So this is 2011. And I wanted, the whole like dessert table, because this is right when Pinterest was starting,
Okay.
and like dessert tables were just starting. Like it wasn't really a thing before. You just had a cake, but now we were getting into like cakes, cupcakes, cookies. So it was
Cake
just starting
pops, that
around
sort
then.
of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I couldn't find anybody to make cookies because again, the internet was still like working out how to connect people like that. And so I decided to teach myself how to make decorated cookies.
Wow.
And there were enough tutorials online, like YouTube, you could watch videos. So we had a party of maybe like, 15 people. I think I made about 200 cookies of like, trains and little railroad signs where I put his initials, and other cookie, like, with his age, number 2, and I put train tracks and everything. But I just really fell into it as a hobby. So like as a kid, if I would get into a hobby, I would get like obsessed, and then usually I'd quickly drop it.
Yeah.
But this one stuck. Um, so I started making cookies just for fun to keep me busy, and have a creative outlet while I was home with him. And then of course, I start posting on Facebook, and everybody's like, "Can I buy some cookies?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, I guess. Why not? Let's sure." So I started making some cookies for sale for people, and then after like a year and a half of that, I was like, this is a lot of work,
Yeah.
and this isn't really how I want to make a living. But I was still having fun, and connecting with other people in the cookie decorating community now through Facebook, because now we had Facebook groups had
Yeah.
started. So I was in a few different groups of other cookie decorators, and I decided to like start using stencils on my cookies.
Hmm.
which at the time was like not really a thing. There were some old fashioned stencils with just like a rose, and you would, it's kind of like screen printing with icing.
Okay.
So like if you have your cookie with like your hard layer of royal icing, then you would put the stencil over it and you would like
Okay.
swipe other icing over the top and
Oh,
peel it off and it would leave behind the design. Or
okay.
you could use an airbrush gun with edible like airbrush color and
Okay.
do the same thing. So I found online, I started buying all these little stencils for actually temporary tattoo artists because they were kind of the right scale. And like, I wanted to make like tire tracks go across a cookie. So I
Mm.
bought, like this tire track tattoo stencil and then I airbrushed it on my cookie. And then when I started posting pictures of all these stenciled cookies, everybody's like, well, where'd you get these stencils? Like, how'd you do this? What's happening? And there was a blogger at the time who had the biggest cookie blog.
Okay.
And she reached out and she's like, hey, do you want to do a guest post about this? And I was like, yeah, I'm an expert now. I've done it like 3 times. Let's go. So I wrote a blog for her and I was like, I should figure out how to design my own stencils because I think there's a market here. And my husband's like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay, sure. Um, so again, like I have no graphic design background, like anything. And I bought myself a little Cricut printer,
Okay.
the Cricut machines.
Yeah.
And I've, bought some sort of plastic. It was not the plastic we use now, but, and I'm like, let me figure this out. So, I start designing them and I figure out how to cut them and I open an Etsy store. And then I like can't keep up with the orders on my little Cricut.
Oh my gosh.
So then, I got these other like more industrial size machines that are still blade cutting, the same kind of same idea, but just on a bigger scale.
Okay.
Got like 4 of them in my dining room going, and I still can't really keep up with the orders. I end up moving off of Etsy within about 6 months and opened a Shopify store. So now I'm
Wow.
on my own website.
Okay. What year was this then now?
Well, this was 2013
Okay.
ish. So I think we opened in the summer on Etsy and opened in the fall with the website.
Okay. Yeah. So blogs were big then, like Pinterest was big. Yeah. That whole thing. Yep.
Yeah. So Pinterest was blowing up, blogging was blowing up. Like everybody had a
Mhm.
cookie blog, and tons of baking blogs. Did I have a blog? Well, we have blogs on our website, but
Yeah.
as built into the website. So yeah, so then I was like, okay, I was constantly designing stencils. I eventually found like a manufacturer in the US to make them for me. But it was a long time till I found the right person to do that. And so I was like, still like having all these machines in my house, like cutting all these stencils and packaging them and shipping them. And like I still remember the day because I would just drive to the post office every afternoon with like
Oh my gosh.
tote bags of orders. And I remember the post office gave me a bin, like a white post office bin.
Yeah.
And they were like, do you want this so you can bring your orders back and forth? And I was like, you'll give me a bin? And it was such a moment. And now we ship like pallets of stuff,
Oh
now
my
our
gosh.
business
Yeah.
has grown where we're shipping, hundreds of orders a day. But back then I was like, you're going to give me a bin? This is so cool.
I love that. So you still have that business today. And how has that sort of changed and grown? I know, for example, you have like a flour, a sifter product. Like it's not just stencils anymore, right? So tell me a little bit about how that's grown.
So we have, I think we have somewhere like 2,500 to 3,000
Wow.
products now, SKUs between cookie cutters and stencils and food color. Most of it is our own branded products that we develop. Some of it is we do sell some other brands' products as well. And my husband helps run that company, and we do have a team in place. We have a warehouse in Rhode Island. And the product that has really taken off this summer we launched it is, I have one here. I have
Yeah.
my little prop to show you. So
Love
it's
it.
called the flower funnel, and it
Mhm.
attaches to the front port of your KitchenAid mixer.
Yep.
So you can like just dump stuff in from the top when you're baking. So it's
Hmm.
not like baking when you're trying to get it in the side of the bowl while the head is still down.
It's hard.
Like, it makes a mess.
Yep.
So we we have like a farm of 3D printers at our warehouse. So we have like 70 3D printers because we 3D print all of our cookie cutters. So we have someone on staff that designs those, and those are all 3D printed. And we do have some other products we 3D print. So we started um, playing around with designs for this idea and on how to make this like funnel to, and
Yeah.
I know the shape of it is unfortunate. It looks like a urinal, but it's not. There's no way around that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny.
But the cool thing is, so KitchenAid mixers have that port on the front that you can attach a
Hmm.
pasta maker, like a meat grinder, and that is a standardized port that has been the same since like the 40s.
Wow. I didn't realize
That
that
has
long.
not changed, because my husband went back and bought like 30 mixers over the past 6 months of all different years, all different models, so we could keep tweaking this so it would fit and work on every single like home baker model.
Wow.
So everything from, a mini to a 7 quart, because there's a
Mhm.
lot of different variations. Some have the head that tilts, some have one that lift up, the bowl goes up and down.
Uh-huh.
And so this works on all of them. So you just put it to the front. You can run your mixer while it's going. So really it just helps you like add all the ingredients without having to stop your mixer, without it making a mess. And people have gone like crazy for it. We have never had a product launch and have such success so quickly. I think we're up to like almost 900 5-star reviews on the
Wow.
website, and we have a ton of great reviews on Amazon. They are also on Amazon. Um, so it's just been like a huge success that has really changed the course of our business in a way that, everything else we did was super niche. And
Hmm.
even if you like to bake bread or chocolate chip cookies, you probably wouldn't end up buying from us. But now this product, like we're selling it to, everyday bakers, which is
Yeah. You need to develop something like that for olive oil in like an immersion blender. We love making salad dressings and specifically Caesar salad, and so it's always hard because my husband has to have the immersion blender going, and I have to pour in the oils as it's blending, and it's always such like a hard angle and like to fit it in at the same time. So that might be your next one.
all right. I'm going to think about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because I know that exact feeling though of like everything's so bulky and there's not enough room, and then it like ends up making a mess. And a lot of the times you have to pour as it's mixing and in process. So
Right,
yeah,
especially something like that. Yeah, making
yeah,
a dressing. I know we usually put ours in just a jar and like, shake the
yeah,
crap out of
yes,
it.
exactly.
Yours is a much better way.
But so then tell me a little bit about then, like how you've got the word out and continue to grow this business. Because I mean, you've been in business for, you said, over 10 years with the cookie business,
13 years.
13
Yeah.
years, which is so impressive. So these days, sort of what's kind of working for that? Is it just word of mouth still, would you say? Or is it, those reviews? Is it being on Amazon too? Like what's helped in marketing with that?
So for marketing, it used to be we relied heavily on our email list.
Uh-huh.
Every time we would send an email with new products or maybe a promotion, we would see just like a huge bump in sales, and just straight organic, straight to Facebook, Instagram, posting. And that's really changed over the past, 5 years,
Mhm.
especially post COVID. Everything has changed.
Yeah.
um, During COVID, we saw a huge spike in business because so many people were home and starting new hobbies, and especially baking hobbies. And then I think also at the same time, everybody was home shopping. And now, I mean, if you think about your inbox, how many emails do you get a
Yeah.
day?
A
Like,
ton.
if you're like me, like I don't even open them unless I'm really looking to shop for something specific,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really changed where, our email list is huge now, but it doesn't have the same effect as it used to. So
Yep.
we do a lot of sponsored posts through Meta for Facebook, Instagram, Google Shopping,
Mhm.
Google Sponsored, or just, being at the top of Google.
Yep.
So John, my husband, has really learned how to work the magic of Meta ads and, tweaking spending on that. And that's something that we did try to outsource, because it's super overwhelming and
Yeah.
confusing. And even just to be in Google Shopping is like you have to have like three different email accounts, and like you can't. I don't even know. Like, thank God he does all this because my business does not work that way.
Yes.
Um, but we've tried to have other people help us with this,
Mhm.
and they outside agencies, and they will set up an ad campaign or a couple of ad campaigns, and then they're like, well, let's let it sit for 2 weeks and come back to it.
Yeah.
And like, you can't do that. You have to look at it daily
Yes, and
and
make tiny
adjust
shifts. Yeah.
and make, yeah. And so he's really gotten great at constantly monitoring um, all the different paid advertising. And, when he sees certain ads doing really well, upping the budgets for those. And when he sees some that people aren't responding to, pull the budget back on that.
Yep.
So it's something you really, really have to be time invested to make that work. You
Mhm.
can't just post and then be like, oh, I'm going to boost this for $100. And like, that's all you do. So
Yeah.
it really requires a lot of kind of hand holding in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But
Watching,
that's been really
adjusting, and
successful
yeah.
for us. So
Okay.
that's been successful for us in, still getting new customers. And, we do have a ton of repeat business, thankfully. So we have customers that have been with us, since the beginning.
Yeah.
And we really, really, really value customer support and happy customers. We never want anybody to be unhappy. So
Mhm.
I think having that philosophy has really just helped us with customer loyalty and building the brand too.
Yeah. And speaking of that, before I'm so excited to talk about your other brands too. But I do think brands and businesses are really having to lean into their best customers for marketing these days. Like I'm seeing that a lot, like rewarding your best customers, and they're sort of your form of advertising, or they're just coming back and kind of almost collecting pieces from brands and businesses they love. So, do you have any tips on sort of nurturing that community or like making them feel special in any ways?
So for the Cookie Countess, we do have a loyalty program
Mhm.
that we have had for years, and that has been really successful where people earn points and they can cash them in for like discounts or free products.
Mhm.
And because we do have so much repeat business, because some of our products are consumables, like
Yeah.
meringue powder that you're going to need to come back and purchase, every couple months.
Mhm.
So they love getting their points. So that's great. And there are also, I think it's interesting having an online company where you don't connect with your customers face to face,
Mhm.
and there's not a ton of opportunity to do that. But there is something called Cookie Con,
Oh,
which is a convention of cookie decorators that happens every year. And we've gone to most of them when we'll set up a booth and we'll do tutorials and demonstrations and we'll sell product. And that's been a really great way to just interact with people in
mhm.
person,
Yep.
which we wouldn't normally get to do. So, I'd say that's like, online shopping is great, but you don't have that personal connection with your customers the way
Yep.
you would with in-person shopping.
Yeah. That's a good tip though. Like find a sort of conference that your customers go to or an event for the opportunity to make some FaceTime with them.
And you just learn so much about your customers that way. And they'll tell you what they love, what they hate. They'll be
Yeah.
like, or, like, could you make something like this? And it's like, oh, I wonder, I bet we could. Like, let me think about that,
Yep.
and then and I don't really make cookies anymore. Like
Yeah.
we have someone on staff that makes them. We have two people on staff that can make cookies, and they'll, make video tutorials, which is important for us to have tutorials on how to use everything. But I'm not that person that's making, 10 dozen cookies a week. So knowing what that person needs is very different from knowing what the hobby baker is, what they
Yes.
need. So the customers also are very different, even though they're making the same
Mhm.
product. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing those tips. So now let's talk about your other two businesses. First, the tote bags, which if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see they are displayed beautifully behind you. So tell me about that. Like, what was the moment, the idea for this business?
So this business, I say I started by accident because initially I started researching starting the Mahjong business.
Oh,
But because I have a retail background and interest in fashion and in classic fashion, I really, really wanted to make really nice bags to carry all your Mahjong stuff in.
okay.
So when I started getting all the samples of different bags and materials, and all my friends were like, who don't play Mahjong, were like, well, I would still want that bag. So talking to my husband about it, I think this was maybe back in August.
Okay.
Um, I said, "Do you think we should start like another company where we're just selling, accessories and bags?" So that way, because he's so good at marketing, it's
Mhm.
not confusing to somebody that, doesn't play mahjong, but like wants one of these cute tote bags. We don't have to send them to a mahjong site where they think, oh, it's just a mahjong bag, I can't buy
Yes.
it. But of course they can. So we were like, well, what if we start, another brand? So that way we can have clear marketing, for that customer, and then
Mhm.
clear marketing for the mahjong customer, even
Mhm.
though a lot of them might be the same. The messaging isn't confusing,
Yes.
because people sometimes, like I said, would be like, well, that's a mahjong bag, even though it doesn't say mahjong, it's still a tote bag. That's just the dimensions of it are specific.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so that was kind of an accident, a happy accident that has, obviously like been a ton of work, because now we have, three different Shopify stores and three different social media accounts to manage, and they're all managed separately.
Mhm.
Um, so that has been definitely challenging. I'm really excited about so we were able to launch the Crown and Coastal with the tote bags in November,
Okay.
and it's been doing great. And
So
like,
tell us about the totes then. What makes them special? Like some of the colors they come in, maybe price point, that sort of thing.
sure, okay, so this was the first one that I was like, I love a good mini tote.
Yeah.
These are all canvas.
Mhm.
They have really nice hardware detailing. They have the little feet, so I wanted just more of like an elevated bag than just your regular canvas tote bag. These are
Mhm.
designed where they have like this built-in drawstring
Yes, which
to
I love that to keep your
keep your
stuff
stuff.
secure.
And or it's designed so that if you don't want to use it, like you can just like undrawstring it and just
Yes.
tuck it inside and have it as an open tote. So this was where we started, and there's a lot of like reinforcement in this. I wanted it to be able to stand up on its own. I didn't want it to be like a sloppy canvas bag. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like those have their time and place for sure. But I wanted, especially for Mahjong, I really wanted it to be like very sturdy, be able to hold a ton of stuff, not fall
Yes.
apart on you. So the quality of it was really important to me. And uh, having different color options. So like we have 7 different colors that have the natural canvas. We just started offering the color block ones, which are super
Cute.
cute. People are freaking out about these. The pink and the blue are not in stock yet, but the blue
Okay.
and the green are. And probably by the time you post this, they'll be in stock for sure. And then
Yeah.
we started doing some leather ones too.
Oh.
So we have leather trim, and these have a little bit of a different canvas. It's a little more of like a refined canvas. So these have been selling great. These
I love the leather. That's stunning.
are obsessed with the color. I love a good like chestnut cognac color.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this bag too because I picture it. You can use it in the fall with some boots, or in the summer if you have some nice, like, everybody has like sandals this color, I feel like.
Yes. Yep.
So price point wise, these are 95.
Okay.
The leather are just a little bit more. The larger totes go from 110, 125, 145. There's a medium size too. Whoop, let me get this. Hold on. So this is new. This is a medium size. So this is more like an everyday size. This will hold my laptop. This comes in a bunch of different colors. It comes in the leather, and these have just started selling a couple of weeks ago, I think, or maybe last week. We launched them, and I don't know. I'm just super pumped because people really like them, and I was like,
Yeah.
do people really need another bag company? I'm like, well, I love them. I don't know. Let's try.
Now I'm like, I need the color block one now. I need the leather one. And then tell me about the scarves, because then the scarves go with the bags, right?
So we decided to do we have a couple different scarves. Actually, there's a third one, I think, launching tomorrow. So I designed the scarves to go with the Mahjong sets. So
Oh,
everybody that buys a Mahjong set will get a coordinating silk twilly. But we do sell them separately too on both websites. So that
okay.
way, if you want to tie it around your bag with a bow or twist it around the
Mhm.
handle, you can do that. So we took designs from the Mahjong mats and translated them into the twilly scarf. And I actually have one that I wrapped around a headband because I'm a headband girl, but I
Yeah.
don't like just wearing a flat scarf. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
actually twisted it around a headband.
To give it some
Um,
structure.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think we're going to work on more silk scarves, and because I really like our manufacturer for these and how they're made, and I think it's a good price point, and just the designs are fun. But they do come with the Mahjong tiles.
Okay, so now let's talk about the Mahjong tiles, because I didn't realize that actually was the jumping off point then for the totes. So tell me, like, are you a Mahjong player and that's why you wanted to create tiles, or how did that come about?
So I have not even been playing Mahjong a full year. And like here we are last week, we just, opened this new company. But that's kind of like I said, like I'll be like, oh, let's just start like now I'm gonna do
Yep.
this. And you know what? I don't know who I was watching, somebody on Instagram recently who is a speaker and entrepreneur. And she said something that so resonated with me. She said, start before you're ready.
Yeah.
Because if you wait till you're ready, you'll never be ready.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? It's like just start and then everything is figure outable. Like that's a
Yes.
saying that I also love. And yeah, you're not going to know everything. Even having 13 years experience in online sales with the Cookie Countess, both of these companies are their own things and have their own challenges and things
Mm-hmm.
to figure out. Um, so back to your question, I haven't been playing Mahjong forever, but I became obsessed like everybody else that starts playing Mahjong, or most people, and they're like, oh, this is so fun. And I was introduced to it by a group of women in Rhode Island called the
Okay.
Gilded Birds, who I had known one of them because she used to live in my neighborhood. And she was always posting on Instagram, like her and her friends playing Mahjong and they're drinking wine. And they just always, and, they always look fabulous. They have great fashion sense. I was like, I want to do that. That looks so fun. Like, just sign me up. Whatever that is, I want to do that. And then they started a business doing Mahjong events in Rhode Island. So after the first one I went to, I was like, I am so in on all of this that is happening. And after a couple months of playing, and we have a boat here in Rhode Island, and I was like, well, I need a set to keep on the boat.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find anything that I thought was appropriate. I couldn't find like a nautical set that made sense to me. This was back in April
Uh-huh.
2005, 2025. And I was like, I think So in my head, I start designing what it would look like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, well, I would have the seagull be the one band bird, and I would have, a red lobster as the red dragon. And I'm like thinking through all the ways I would design it. And then I said, well, you know what? We source stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I bet I could, get these made. Like, I'm sure I could figure this out. And like, we have a graphic designer on staff at the Cookie Countess. I bet she could help me make it. And then I said, well, maybe other people want them too. Maybe I'll order 20 sets and just sell them to friends or whatnot. And then after doing some more research and then really realizing how big of a thing Mahjong has become, I kind of went to my husband and I was like, do you want to start another crazy business with an idea I have? And he was like, wait, what? But he believed in me, and I presented him with like a whole business plan of like, look, these are all the different products. These are what the price points are. Like, this is why I think we could do this really well. And we just started trying to figure it out.
I love that. Oh my gosh. First of all, I love how supportive your husband sounds. And I love that you two work together. I cannot imagine. I love my husband, but I cannot imagine working with him. So I think that's so fabulous. So for the Mahjong, do you have one set of tiles right now? What did you launch with? Mats? Tell me about what that collection looks like.
So we launched with 2 different tile sets,
Okay.
3 different mats, all the tote bags, and a few other little products. We're selling some racks, and so we launched with the Newport set. This is the box, obviously.
Cute.
It's empty. But I really wanted the packaging to be beautiful. These are some of I have the tiles in front of me, like the hydrangea for the flower. We have our, of course, our dragon.
Yeah.
Our soap is some nautical knots.
Oh,
And
so
the other set we launched with, so this is the mat for the Newport set. The other set we launched with is called the Island set because we're obsessed with the Caribbean and going to all British Virgin Islands. Like, we're big island people, and we love everything on the water. So the other set I launched with is this island set where it's very the backs, are like turquoise waters, and the dots are all seashells. The BAMs are seaweed. The cracks are coral, so it's very ocean inspired. And so those are the 2. And I have another set that's in production called the Girly, which I can give you a sneak peek if you want.
Oh, yeah. Sneak peek for listeners here.
And let's see. Oh, so the other reason I wanted to do a scarf was because we're selling these tile bags, and I wanted it to look like a fancy purse on your shelf.
Yes.
And twilly around your handle. So that's why the scarves came to be.
Cute.
I was like, wouldn't it be so cute if you had a matching scarf to go with your for your tile bag?
Yeah.
So the girlies are these pastels, really sweet, really pretty, soft colors. These will probably launch in April.
April? Okay. And what are some of the icons on them?
So this is, let's open them up. So the BAMs all have little bows on them. So
Pretty.
There's a 5 BAM. So all the BAMs have bows. I love all the cracks all have stripes. So they have a striped background.
Yeah.
And it's just really girly.
Let's
see what else. The dots are just really sweet. And the backs are just this really pretty soft pink. So that set is in production, and I have some other sets that are in samples right now. And it's a really long process. I know you know this from all the other companies you've interviewed, but it is painfully long to get Mahjong tiles made.
Yes, because they come from overseas. They're engraved and then painted. It's a whole process, right?
Yeah, start to finish, it's a month.
Yeah.
Between gluing up layers, especially if they're layered tiles, like these are.
Mm-hmm.
And then these are painted, so it's oil paints. They have to dry at least a week before they can be packaged. So there's like a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
It's not, 4 weeks of active time, but there's a lot of necessary downtime. The tumbling takes a
Yeah.
week. So it's like the manufacturing process is like, wow.
Wow. I'm sure a big learning curve.
For sure, yes. Like, yeah, and we are used to moving like really quickly
Yeah.
and turning on a dime, which you kind of have to when you own your own business. So, this process is like, wow, I can't believe how long this stuff takes, but it is what it is.
Definitely. Well, so I feel like you are just a wealth of knowledge with all three of these businesses. And I just love the fire. Like you're very similar to me in the sense where when I have an idea, like I'm doing it, I'm running with it. Any tips for, I guess I say that I hate saying balance because there is no such thing, but having multiple businesses. So almost like any tips for structure or organization then maybe, or any resources that help you run your businesses?
So for the Cookie Countess, we have an amazing staff.
Mhm.
We have a group of managers that run the day to day because for that business, we are doing our own warehousing and fulfillment.
Okay.
So everything is warehouse and shipped from our offices and warehouse. So we have great managers in place that have been with us for years,
Mhm.
and they can run that business day to day without us.
Okay.
So you really need to, as you grow, don't be afraid to add people to your team.
Mhm.
Because one thing I like to think about, and I've said this before, and I've been given this advice that, you know, sure, I know how to do everything. And yes, if I do it all, I don't necessarily have to, hire somebody and have the payroll expense and just expense of having an employee.
Mhm.
But what kind of business am I missing by
Mhm.
not growing my business with the right staff in place?
Yes.
So and when we were really little, I felt like every time we added a staff member, we would go from feeling like there were never enough hours in the day to all of a sudden we would go, wait, I have time today. What's wrong? And it
Yeah.
would feel weird, almost like when you were a kid and then you finally graduated from school and on Sundays you still felt like you had homework to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like,
You're like, what am I missing? There has to be something I'm forgetting. Yeah.
wait, why does it feel easy? And all of a sudden it was because somebody had taken something off your plate.
Mhm.
But then it allows you to focus on other stuff to grow and you just keep
Mhm.
repeating that process.
Mhm.
So, I would say having people in place that are, self-sufficient. I don't believe in micromanaging. Like I
Yeah.
want to hire you. I want you to learn how to do what needs to get done and just run with it.
Yeah.
Obviously like be there for support, but like I want to trust you to make all the right decisions because you know
Mhm.
what I would do, if we have
Mhm.
a good relationship. For these other two new brands, now we're at the point where it's like, where are we going to hire and what exactly does that role look like? And I don't know
Yes.
that yet.
Okay.
Um, so, so for balance right now, it's kind of out of whack. um, but we'll make some, we'll figure that out as we go on. The other thing I did differently for these two new brands is we're not actually doing the warehousing and fulfillment.
Oh, okay.
Well, for anybody that's thinking about starting like a products
Mhm.
business, you don't necessarily have to have a warehouse and shipment like fulfillment team. So we're using a third party logistics
Yeah.
company,
3PL. Yeah.
3PL, to warehouse and ship. They're in Rhode Island, so they're
You
25
can.
minutes from my
Yeah.
house, and they've been great to work with. It's been a very different process because I'm used to be able to like have hands on in everything,
Mhm.
and so it's a different process with them. But for people that have a product idea, but then are like, well, I don't know anything about shipping, I don't know anything
Mhm.
about, somebody else can do that.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good
And
tip.
they obviously like they charge for the warehousing, they charge for pick fees and for shipping. But at the end of the day, it's not anymore. And it's really kind of less in many ways than if you were to do it all yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. Those are great tips. Now If you could have a dream customer for maybe one for each of your businesses or all of them, who would be your dream customers?
Whew. Maybe for the cookies, I would love Martha Stewart to make some cookies
Yes. Uh-huh.
using some of our products, or just give her the flower funnel and have her be like, "Oh, this is a pretty good idea." Like, I would
Yeah.
love to see her like, "Hmm." Because she's been so amazing at growing her brand and herself as a brand.
Mm-hmm.
And for the other ones, gosh, I don't know. I think anybody that just, I don't know. I want everybody to just be happy with what they get.
Yeah. I could see someone like Gwyneth Paltrow maybe with the totes, or
Yeah, or maybe like
Reese
Jennifer
Witherspoon.
Aniston.
Yes, Jennifer Aniston.
Um,
Yeah.
she has like, I love her style because she has a very classic style,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still unique. Like, it's refined,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like the tote bags are like a refined take on like a basic classic people would think of.
Yeah, a
I'd love
thousand
her to
percent.
carry one. Yeah.
Yeah. Great answer. What does preppy mean to you? I ask this to everyone, so let me know what you think about preppy.
So for Preppy for me, and I've loved all the answers because I've been like shocked by a lot of them. So Preppy for me is completely an aesthetic fashion choice. It
Mm-hmm.
has nothing to do with lifestyle,
Okay.
which I was like, oh, do people think that? So for me, growing up in like the 80s, it's like, navy blue and Kelly green and a
Yes.
popped collar, and like that's it, like a cable knit sweater. Um, I didn't like grow up golfing or skiing or like, so I think just coming from the Northeast and being in
Mhm.
Rhode Island, it is completely associated with where I am geographically.
Mm.
So this is so naive to say, and I almost don't even want to say it, but I was so surprised when so many Southern people were like, "Oh, well, Preppy is this," and I was like, "You have Preppy?"
Yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous when it comes out of my mouth. But for me, it's just been such an identity of like, well, LL Bean and Maine
Northeast.
and
Yeah.
Massachusetts style and
Ivy
Cape
League.
Cod
Yeah.
and Newport. Like, it's a very much a seaside fisherman sweater aesthetic.
Yes. Yeah.
That's how I
No,
grew up.
I think that's perfect. I love hearing everyone's answers because they are all so different. And I think it's so much about, where you grew up, where you live now, what you do. So I loved your answer just as much. So I know we talked about a lot of sneak peeks. Anything else, though, you want to plug or mention before we wrap up?
Um, I do have a lot of stuff on the horizon for both brands, all three brands really. And I am doing, these won't come out for a few months, but we're working on some really cute summer totes
Pretty.
that
Yes.
are leather with like a natural jute, and they have this really cute stripe liner. So we're working on some of
Gorgeous.
these, which
Okay.
I think I just picture with like a white summer dress and a straw hat
Yep.
and
On Nantucket Island.
completely, yes. So it's lots of different just little design takes on the tote bags for sure coming out, and more stuff for the Mahjong. So there's a lot on the horizon. I'm excited for 2026.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what you come out with. So, final question is, where can people find you? Let them know all the website URLs, all the handles, all the things.
So we are thecookiecountess.com. You can find us on, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, The Cookie Countess, Crown and Coastal. Um, you can Google us. We are also Facebook, Instagram. I am not on TikTok yet because I'm maxed out on what I'm capable of right now for that one. And then the Royal Mahjong Society. So the royalmahjongsociety.com, crownandcoastal.com. And you can just Google and find us. We are on Instagram. Mostly Instagram is where I'm most active,
Mhm.
and then everything also goes to Facebook and whatnot. But yeah, I would love for people to come check out what we're doing across the board.
Excellent. Well, Hilary, this was so fun talking with you. I really enjoyed our conversation. So, thank you for being on the Preppy Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Preppy Podcast. I hope this put a little prep in your step for the day. Please subscribe, rate, and review on wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow along with @the Preppy Podcast on social media.